You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our Monster and Kaiju Rewind review for the week. I know we're a little behind. It was E3 week, so these two got pushed back as far as, you know, the monster movies and the horror movies. And I figured, why not do them both on a Friday the 13th? It seems fitting to me, right? So this one, we're going to review The Host, released in 2006, a Korean monster film, and I gotta say, this was a fantastic movie. Fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because of the monster action, because this is not a kaiju movie. This monster is not like, you know, epic stories tall, and it's a mutated monster. Well, the story goes like this. In the very beginning of the movie, and it was great to see Scott Wilson of The Walking Dead make a cameo in this movie. In the very beginning of this movie, two men who seem to be working with chemicals, I think they were part of the military. Scott Wilson plays the head honcho, and he tells the Korean his Korean subordinate to dump these toxic chemicals down the drain instead of doing it the proper way by, you know, wrapping them in biohazard or putting them in you know, certain biohazard containers where they get shipped off and they get dumped accordingly. He tells them to dump down the drain, and the subordinate's very reluctant, but after a while he has to give in to his superior. So it was kind of cool to see Scott Wilson playing a bit of a bad guy, a bit of an asshole, and I hadn't seen him play a role like that since G.I. Jane. But so they fast forward in time a little bit, and basically this toxin mutates some sort of amphibian in the local river, and they kind of jump time again, and this is where we meet the primary characters of this movie, which is a family that consists of a father, a grandfather, an aunt, an uncle, and a little girl. The little girl has her aunt and uncle, and then her father, and then her grandfather. And the father and the grandfather work like a food stand. The aunt is actually competes in archery in the Olympics, and the brother, her uncle, is, you know, a deadbeat. He's an alcoholic. So a very dysfunctional family, much like many people have in this world. And you know, the father seems to be very lethargic, very lazy, not, you know, just doesn't reach his potential and just kind of helps out his dad. So he had screwed up, you know, he basically screws up in order. You know what? I don't want to go too much into it because it really is such a good movie. First of all, you don't get that normal routine of we'll wait 45 minutes to an hour before you see the monster. 13 minutes into the movie, and I'm counting it. If you watch the movie, watch the clock. 13 minutes into the movie, you see this monster. And I gotta say, it is one of the best introductions to the monster I've seen in quite some time, because it's not overly dramatic like we see in monster movies. Like in Godzilla, you see him rising out of the water, or all these other monsters that rise out of the water. It just happens. It just happens in such a natural way. It makes it epic. Because, and I don't want to explain it because I liked it. And the music was incredible. The music that they played when the monster made its first appearance, it was strict percussion, and it just went so well. And there's people all over the place fleeing. And again, this is not a big monster. I mean, it's obviously big enough to do some damage to like small structures and cars and stuff like that. But it's not like a giant creature. I mean, some humans were able to try and fight this thing, much to their demise, but that's how big it's not. So basically, the story centers around the family because they try to look for their little girl. And I say their little girl because that's like the one person in the family that's very innocent, that's one thing they can all agree on, is that they love the little girl. So After the monster attacks, the U.S. government, U.S. government and the Korean government get involved, and they start quarantining all the people who get attacked. So, this basically this turns out to be almost like a breakout, because since the family's in quarantine, and since they discover that they know that the monster has his daughter, they have to find a way to get past security and all that kind of stuff. And that's what the movie's about. The movie is about the family. They could have made any reason to have the government involved with looking for this monster and killing this monster or trying to save people, much like any other movie. And that's what makes it great, because you don't get that. And it doesn't mean that the military is not doing their normal operations, but you don't have to see it. You're focusing on this family. And the funny thing is that it does a good job showing how families can disagree on a lot of things, and that's what makes this movie I like about this movie. Is yes, I can sit here and talk about the monster, but I can tell you about the story and how it really portrays how families can disagree on many things, but there's usually one thing that they can all agree on, and there's usually one thing that can bring them all together. A lot of times it is children, sometimes it's other things. And there was a very powerful scene, and again, I don't want to get into detail, but there was a very powerful scene in after the monster attack that I was touched. And then it was such a unique scene at the same time, because it went from being powerful and making you feel really emotional to turning around and being one of the funniest things you've ever seen. And it seamlessly just goes from that moment to the funny moment. And you would think that's crazy. But it goes so well that I was kind of surprised that it worked the way it did. So there's an excellent job by the makers of this movie. And just to give you an idea that I'm not bullshitting, Quintin Tarrentino, of all the movies he's ever seen, he has like a top 20 all-time movies. This is one of them. This is in his personal list. And so the family sets out to look for the little girl, and during this whole time you see the message in this movie. Okay, all these monster movies, or all movies in general, try to convey a message. Sometimes movies, they overdo it with the whole message thing, where it's like, okay, we get it. Some other movies, maybe they don't have enough of it, where you're like, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to say? This movie does a good job of portraying their message, but not forcing it down your throat. And basically surrounding the family while they're looking for this little girl is the government lying, talking about that this monster or whatever is, causing certain situations, and they're kind of just using that and looking for reasons to, do surgery on people. Again, don't want to give it all away, because it is a very good story. And it's not that there's any crazy plot twist, but it's a story you should experience when you see it, because it's a well-told story. I mean, and the monster is the focal point, but that doesn't take away from a good storytelling. And again, there's suspense, there's thrills, there's some blood, a little gore here and there, some nasty shit, definitely some nasty shit, scary moments. It's a good, well-rounded package of a movie that I hope they don't remake here in the States, because they'd ruin it. This is a good monster movie with some thrills, some action, some emotional moments, some very stressful moments, and it was a treat to watch. It was really a treat to watch, and it wasn't, I saw it on Amazon Prime. It was on Prime for free, so I thought, oh, this is great, because there have been a lot of you guys who have been telling me, oh, go watch this movie, go watch this movie. And I said, you know what, I'm going to check this out. It's on Prime, it's free, and people have been praising this movie, and I can see why. It is fantastic. It has to be one of the best overall monster movies, and I gotta say overall because that includes Kaiju and other monsters. Has to be one of the best overall monster movies I have ever seen. I feel personally, if someone is going to make a monster movie, they should craft it after the approach that was taken for this movie. That's how good this movie is. Forget the fact that they're speaking in Korean and you got to read English subtitles. It still does a very good job of capturing you and bringing you into the story. It was a pleasant surprise of a movie to watch. I'm glad I saw it. I highly recommend it. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but know this. The story centers around a family looking for their daughter. It centers around the government taking certain actions that people are against. People protest against that. The family's trapped in between all this, and they're doing whatever it takes to desperately find their loved one. And it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster at times. There's some moments that'll make you crack up. There's some funny moments. There's some sad moments. There's some holy shit moments. It's really that good. It really is. I was pleasantly surprised. So that's it for my review. Go check out this movie. The Host, released in 2006, Korean monster film. Man, 10 out of 10. Fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. And the monster design and the way they did it is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Just go watch the movie. I don't want to say any more. Go check out The Host. Great movie. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Nation Facebook page.